About a month and a half ago, I survived an attempted carjacking in Chicago. Let's talk more about it and why situational awareness is extremely important.
Kilo 9 Echo Mike Papa, Kilo 9 Echo Mike Papa, K9EMP.
Yes, you heard that intro correctly. Someone did try and carjack me while I was driving in a Chicago suburb. My situational awareness allowed me to see the setup ahead of time so I could take evasive action. My current career is a truck driver, and I was driving my company semi at the time that this happened. I'm not joking. They also carjack semis, not just regular vehicles. Let's talk about situational awareness. The definition of situational awareness is being aware of your surroundings and being aware of everything going on around your location. Here are a few tips that will help improve your situational awareness. Remain vigilant. Have a basic knowledge of the area. Is it safe or is it a high crime area? Look around periodically. You're looking for people or anything that seems like it might be out of place. Look for other suspicious activity. What are the people doing? Are they acting normal? Are they looking around, acting suspicious, trying to look for any police or anything else that's going on? Make sure you always have an exit plan. Look around for exits. How are you going to get out of a situation? If someone blocks you in with a vehicle or walks in front of you, what are you going to do? Can you go to the left or the right? Is there enough space between you and the other vehicle ahead of you that you can do an evasive maneuver? You also want to keep a mental note of any landmarks, buildings, street signs, anything around you in case you need to call for help. That way you can give a description of the area and they can pinpoint your location. Not every 911 service has the ability to pull GPS right off your cell phone. And if you're driving in an area that you know is a high crime area, or if you're just not sure, keep your windows rolled up and your doors locked. It's a whole lot harder to carjack a vehicle if they can't get your door open. And finally, if something just doesn't look right, it probably isn't. And then you need to start really paying attention. Let's do an after action report on exactly what happened to me. Hopefully this information will help keep others safe. The Chicago suburb that I was driving in has an extremely high crime rate. My employer sets the routes that I drive. I don't have too many options to change them. Being in the Chicago area, there's also a very limited number of roads that you can drive a semi on. There's a ton of low bridges in that entire area, and you have to be extremely careful because you can easily get into an area where you cannot turn around. So, in the area that I was driving on a main highway. I always drive in the left lane in this area because there are tons of people that will randomly slam on their brakes and turn without using turn signals, either to the left or the right. Typically, when they're turning to the left, they use the turn lane. So it's not too much of an issue, but on the right, it is a lot more of a problem. It's not exactly all that easy to stop a semi. The time that I was driving was roughly between 3 and 4 a.m., so it was dark. As I was scanning up ahead, I noticed a person standing on the opposite side of the road in the middle of the driving lanes on that side. This was about a quarter mile ahead of me and was kind of looking a little suspicious. That stoplight was red, and if they were trying to cross the road, they could have easily crossed because there was no other traffic at this time. Here is a Google Street View image of the exact intersection that I was coming up to. The red X indicates where the person was standing. This image is during the day, but like I said, my incident happened at night. So imagine that it was dark. I started to slow down quite a ways back from the light. The person started to cross the road and then for some reason went back into the middle of the opposite side and just kept looking around. Something about this situation just wasn't looking right to me. As I was getting closer to the light, it was still red and not changing to green. I slowed down to about 10 miles an hour as I was getting closer to the light, hoping that it would change to green so I could speed up and get through the intersection safely without running the light and without risking getting T-boned or hitting another car speeding through the intersection the other direction. As I got about 50 yards from the light, I was down to moving about 5 miles an hour. Suddenly, the person decided to cross the road at a diagonal, appearing to be on a track to go behind my truck. This still seemed to be a little odd to me, and I kept looking to see if there was any traffic coming from the cross street because I was planning on running this red light. As the person was crossing diagonally, they were getting a little bit closer to my truck. As soon as they got even with my driver's door, they sprinted right at the truck, reaching for the door or the pressure release cable for my air system. If he would have got a hold of that, I was going to be a sitting duck, because if my air system is drained, I can't go anywhere. The brakes automatically lock up on a semi. As I saw him doing this, I immediately smashed the gas pedal to the floor and plowed right on through the red light, thankful that nobody ended up coming across the intersection. I continued through the next couple of red lights, slowing down at each one to make sure that nobody was coming through the intersection from the cross streets. At that point, I was just wanting to get completely clear of the area and make it to the interstate, which is probably the safest spot in that whole area. And at this point, I wasn't even sure if the person got clear of the truck soon enough to avoid getting run over by any of the tires. I honestly wasn't going to stick around and get out of the truck to find out, only to be pulled out and my truck stolen. Or worse, me getting killed or severely injured. When I got to the interstate, I immediately got on the interstate and pulled over to the shoulder. Put my truck in park, pulled out my phone, called 911. I gave the dispatcher the information about the road I was on and the exact intersection I was at when this happened. I gave the dispatcher the full description of exactly what the person was wearing, facial features, facial hair, everything. The person was extremely close, and I got a very good visual on exactly what they looked like. As soon as I mentioned that the person was wearing a certain color bandana, the dispatcher wasn't interested anymore in what happened. They knew exactly what happened. It was most likely a gang member trying to carjack somebody. I was completely floored that the dispatcher no longer cared that there might be a dead person laying in the road. But I guess this kind of stuff happens in Chicago all the time. They don't really care anymore. It's nothing but a war zone. The dispatcher did tell me that the police would take a look whenever they had a chance to see if there was anybody laying in the road. After she told me that, she told me to go ahead and continue on my way. That if there was any other problem, they would just give me a call. I'm assuming nobody was laying in the road because I never got a phone call from that city. The big lesson that comes out of this whole situation is that you are responsible for your own safety. My situational awareness most likely saved my life that night. All I can say is keep your eyes open and be aware of your surroundings. It might just save your life. If you like this content, please like and subscribe for more great videos. Here's a few other videos that YouTube thinks you might like. Thanks for watching.